On this day in Tudor history, the 28th of November 1489, a Tudor princess was born at Westminster Palace, a girl whose life would be marked by political turmoil, disastrous marriages, divided loyalties, and whose descendants would one day unite the crowns of England and Scotland. Her name was Margaret Tudor, the eldest daughter of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York, sister of Henry VIII, Queen of Scots, and grandmother of Mary, Queen of Scots. Today, let's take a look at the remarkable, turbulent life of this often overlooked Tudor woman. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and welcome to a birthday tribute to Margaret Tudor. Margaret was born into the brand new Tudor dynasty and baptised just 2 days later at St Margaret's, Westminster. She spent her early years at Sheen and then at Eltham Palace, learning music, dancing, French, and even a bit of Latin under top scholars like Thomas Linacre and John Colet. But from the start, her life had one purpose: diplomacy. As early as the 1490s, Henry VII was negotiating her marriage, and not to a foreign monarch across Europe, but to England's northern neighbour and traditional enemy, Scotland. A marriage that would secure peace, or so Henry hoped. After years of negotiation, Margaret was married by proxy to James IV of Scotland in 1503. She was just 13 when she began her month-long journey north, accompanied by a glittering English entourage. Her formal wedding took place on the 8th of August 1503 at Holyrood Abbey. James IV was a charismatic, energetic king, but also a man with several mistresses and at least 7 illegitimate children. Margaret's dower castle even contained the nursery for those children, an overwhelming beginning for a young teenage queen. Margaret and James had 6 children, but only one survived infancy, James V, born in 1512. In 1513, Margaret begged her husband not to go to war against her brother Henry VIII, but James IV marched south and was killed at the disastrous Battle of Flodden. At just 23, Margaret found herself Queen Dowager and Regent of Scotland for her infant son. It was a promising start. She reconciled English and Scottish factions and held power with surprising skill, until she made one fatal misstep. In 1514, Margaret secretly married Archibald Douglas, 6th Earl of Angus, head of the powerful and deeply unpopular Douglas family. James IV's will had been clear. She could remain regent only if she didn't remarry. The moment her marriage became public, she lost the regency. The nobles invited John Stuart, Duke of Albany, back from France to rule Scotland and take custody of her sons. Margaret, pregnant and politically isolated, fled to England, where she gave birth to Lady Margaret Douglas, future mother of Lord Darnley. Margaret's life became a pattern of broken alliances, failing marriages, financial struggles, and constant tug-of-war between England and Scotland. She finally secured a divorce from Angus in 1527, decades before her brother Henry VIII managed his own, and she married again, Henry Stuart, later Lord Methven. This marriage too collapsed under infidelity and financial mismanagement. Margaret's letters to Henry VIII are full of complaints of betrayal, poverty, and loneliness. Her relationships with both her brother and her son grew strained. James V respected her as Queen Mother, but rarely included her in affairs of state. Despite her misfortunes, Margaret's first marriage created the future of Britain. Her great-grandson, James VI of Scotland, inherited the English throne on the death of her niece Elizabeth I in 1603, becoming James I of England and uniting the two crowns. Every British monarch since, including our modern royal family, descends from Margaret Tudor. Margaret Tudor died on the 18th of October 1541 after suffering a stroke. She asked for her son, but he did not reach her in time. She died intestate, her jewels and goods absorbed by the crown, rather than being passed to her daughter Margaret Douglas as she'd wished. She was buried at the Carthusian Priory of St John in Perth, later destroyed during the Reformation. Margaret's story is one of ambition, misjudgment, resilience, and immense historical consequence. She was a Tudor princess, a Scottish queen, a regent, a mother separated from her children, and a woman whose personal life was often miserable, but whose lineage changed the course of British history. On this day, we remember the birth of a woman whose royal blood still sits on the throne more than 500 years later. Thank you for watching. I'll add links to my other videos on Margaret Tudor and her son James V in the description. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.